During Lent we are called to conversion. Pope Francis says sin leads man to consider himself the God of creation, to see himself as its absolute master, and to use it not for the purpose built by the Creator, but for his own interests. Let us leave behind our selfishness and self-absorption and turn to Jesus' task. Let us stand beside our brothers and sisters in need, sharing our spiritual and material goods with them. Lent must be a time to welcome Christ's victory over sin and death into our lives and attract its transforming power to all of creation. These are the underlining themes of Father Tom SMA's sermons during the next 6 Sundays of Lent. Therefore, here is your homilist, Father Tom, for this Sunday in Lent.
Hello everybody once again, and welcome to today's Sunday sermon, which happens to be the first day of Lent, the first Sunday of Lent. And today we are reminded that we are in a time of fasting and a time of prayer, of doing extra good works and also penance. These are the 4 aspects of Lent which I would like to emphasize with you today. Consider them. Prayer is something that is popular these days. Mindfulness is a wonderful form of prayer. But remember that it is to the one God we are praying. And I think God should not be excluded from it. And in fact, that is where we find God, in the present moment, and being mindful of our existence right here and now. Also, during Lent, we are asked to fast. Now, fasting is an old-fashioned word again, maybe. But remember, denying ourselves of life's pleasures. Maybe we feel we cannot do without drinking, or eating, or TV, all the various forms of pleasure that we use almost to get us through life. But this is a time to realize, give God first precedence. Give him first preference in your choices. And that is what fasting is about as well. Also, I would encourage people to fast for a reason. Maybe your friend is sick in hospital or at home sick, or maybe somebody needs your prayers, and fasting is a great way of praying as well, and doing something, denying oneself for the good of another. What better can you do? And God will answer those prayers. No prayer goes unanswered. Also penance. During this time, penance is remembered, but maybe not a popular word these days. Penance is something that has a negative connotation to it. But remember, penance is something very valuable. What is it really? It is realizing how much we need God in our lives, how much we are falling short of the mark of being good, being holy, being kind, being generous, being faithful, being loving of other people. And the penance is we are asked to make confession during this time of Lent, to show God that we desire his graces. So penance is required as well. I'm not sure if I said good works, visiting the sick, visiting people who are lonely, and maybe helping people who are poor and hungry and homeless. The refugee especially. The first reading is from Genesis, and it describes the fall of Adam and Eve. Now, Adam and Eve were tempted by the devil. He tempted them because he said, if you eat that fruit, you will know more even than God. And God knows that. So it was a trick. And it is a way of explaining how we have in our lives, in our own selves, and in the world, this incredible pull between good and evil. Evil exists, good exists. And all of us have it within us. Sometimes we are revengeful. Sometimes we can feel that evil when we want to keep on to a grudge, or maybe we desire things that we should not desire. So we are aware of this conflict going on inside of us. Therefore, this is what is the condition that we find ourselves in. And it's explained in the Bible in the form of that story of Adam and Eve. Now, in the Gospel, we have the temptations of Jesus in the desert. He spent 40 nights, 40 days, fasting and praying, and being tempted by the devil. You'll remember that between Ash Wednesday and Palm Sunday, it's 40 days. Maybe you don't know that, but that's the reason why it's 40, because Jesus spent 40 days in the desert. Now, he was tempted by the devil. What way was he tempted? He was tempted to be God. It wasn't so much to do bad things as we know them. You know, the 10 Commandments, kill somebody, commit adultery, steal, covet somebody's goods, etc., etc., disobedient and disrespectful of our parents. No, these weren't the temptations. The temptations were to be God. Remember, Jesus is God, but he took on our nature, and he took on the limitations of human nature. In other words, he was like us in every way, but sin. And the devil, who knew very well this is God, tempted him to say, you are hungry. And he gave him all these choices. You can make food out of these very stones in the desert. And Jesus refused. Now, when I think about that temptation, I am reminded about maybe, and myself guilty of this, prayers that we make when we want God to do our will. You see, Jesus came to obey his Father in heaven. Our will is that I be healthy, I be strong, I be clever, I be beautiful, that I have all the good things in life, that there's no suffering, and that everything goes along hunky-dory without any suffering of any kind. This is our will. But the will of God, not that he wishes us to be suffering and all that, but he says, you are in this situation. Now, it all can be overcome if you look at me in the form of Jesus, who was totally obedient and accepting of his Father's will. His prayer was that he do his Father's will. Our prayers may be that God does our will, which is totally wrong. I remember in my young days, we had a very close friend of our family who got very sick. This man was quite young. He had just reached his 30s. He had a very difficult heart condition, and he was in hospital when my mother visited him one time, and he said to her, I am now ready to die. I don't care. I'm very happy, in fact, to die. He had been speaking with the sister in charge in the hospital, and she had helped him, obviously, to come to this realization. This is another example of carrying your cross and doing God's will, and willingly. God provides. God provides. Many people go to Lourdes expecting to be healed, maybe. And a lot of people come away from Lourdes and are healed of their physical ailments. Many don't get healed, but in their hearts they may be healed, because they are healed of this holding on to life, and at the same time then becoming aware, this is me, Lord, I leave everything in your hands. This is another healing, and a more lasting healing that will get us over the great divide and back to God. And this is what Jesus in his own way came. He was tempted by the devil to do magic. Here in my place of work, I visit a lot of people in their homes, and I find TV is often on, and these tele-evangelists are on, preaching about Jesus who heals us and who gives us prosperity. And one time I debated with the people who I knew very well, and it was all done in a good spirit. And I said, you know, this is misinformation here. Because where is the cross? The cross is very much part of our lives. And it's not so much that we break it up and throw it away, but we have to embrace it. Embrace it and carry it and grip it fully, as Jesus did going up the hill to Golgotha. Therefore, this is the truth and the secret of life. The secret. Carry your cross, grip it, accept it, and you will find new life. You will find the wherewithal to accept. And even on the final hurdle, you, like that young man with the heart condition, you will be glad when God calls you to a new life with him. May God bless you during this time of Lent to learn, to know, to love, and to serve him by performing those 4 actions that I reminded you of at the beginning: fasting, prayer, good works, and penance. May God bless you, and looking forward to meeting you again very soon.